On the 15th of October 2017, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio was re-elected by the delegates at the National Delegates Conference held in Freetown to be the presidential candidate for the 2018 presidential elections for the Sierra Leone People's Party (SLPP). Over the years, diverse assumptions have been made about retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio for political gains. As a son of the late Paramount Chief Charlie Bio II of Sogbeni Chiefdom in Bonth District, Southern Sierra Leone, what was it like growing up without a father?
I lost my dad when I was at the age of 4, and because when I got to class 7, I needed to move over to a bigger town so that I can take my selective entrance. So my sister, who had just finished college, decided to host me. Basically, she was just out of college, but then she had a couple of other people, my elder siblings, an elder sister and an elder brother, but she decided to add me to that boarding.
I went to Milton Magai Teachers College. After graduation there, I went to Holy Rosary Secondary School, where I was teaching, and I thought it was time for me to remove mother from the village and bring him to Pujeng, where I enrolled him at the Holy Family Primary School.
Maada Bio was one of my pupils at the Holy Family Primary School in Pujeng. To me, personally, as a teacher for Maada Bio, he's a mild person.
When he completed his primary school education in Pujeng, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio went to the Bo Government Secondary School.
Every student in the south or around the country would want to go to the Bo School. And I had admiration for the school and its performance and the old boys, so I decided to choose Bo School.
My easiest recollection of Maada Bio is that he was a very mature man right from the beginning. Even as a boy, composed, purposeful, and went about things in a mature way. Maada Bio has not chanced upon what perhaps we want to call greatness these days.
In Bo School, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio was admired by his friends and teachers for his discipline and hard work.
This is the only person I have known in school. Bo School is seen to be, it's a public school just for boys, where boys from different backgrounds come. And most times we are influenced by our peers, and most often we tend to lose some of the values we have or acquire values we may not have had. But Julius Maada Bio, since 1978 to 1985, when we took our A-levels, was known to be a very disciplined character.
I don't remember any teacher having cause to reprimand him or even go as far as punish him, as far as I remember. In those days, we were operating what we called a punishment book. I can safely say there was not an occasion on which Maada was ever entered in that book for punishment. So through and through, and this is a record he kept all through his school days.
I also happened to teach at the Bo School when he was there, and no teacher, no student ever complained Maada. And you will find out that most of his companions who are now with him are from the Bo School.
I wasn't a troublemaker. As a matter of fact, at the end of my 7th year, I got the most prestigious Principal's Award for being the best behaved boy. It is not easy after 7 years, in your formative years, to be able to get that type of prize.
He was of exemplary conduct, and that was recognized by the time he got to 6th form, when staff unanimously voted him prefect of discipline, and at the end of the year, he earned the principal's proficiency prize, my prize then.
While his friends were going to university, he went to the military, which was a surprise to all who knew him growing up.
He was the best government student in class. But then when we took the A-levels, he and I got the best results, A-level history, results in history. We got a B, and he got 3 A-levels plus general paper. And his result, both O and A-level results, prepared him for university. He was, qualified to enter from a college. And when I came to him, later on, I was surprised when he told me he had changed his mind and he was going to join the army.
There was this advert for cadets in the military. So he applied. He applied before he even told us. So when he got admission into this cadet course, he came back and told us that he had been accepted. So we prayed for him.
Here was somebody who had had a safe, smooth journey through school, passed all his exams, had been through O-levels with flying colors, had come to 6th form, had his subjects, whilst others were vying for admission into colleges, universities, or here and abroad. It came to me as a great surprise that Maada had enrolled for the army.
Why did he really join the army, and what was his dream?
I also never really thought I was going to be in the military. I wanted to be an academic. That was really what I wanted to do, an engineer for that matter. Although I didn't pursue the science course, but that was really what I wanted to do. Life works in a very funny way. Sometimes you plan to go one way and the Lord takes you another way. I had applied for admission at the Frube College, and while I had received acknowledgement, and while I was waiting for the interview, there was an advertisement for cadets. So I said, oh, this is an interesting option. I'm going to college. I want to go to university. I don't even know how I'm going to pay my university fee. But then the government is going to train me, and I'm going to give service to the world and to my country. So when I weighed the options, I thought it was extremely the best option to explore.
As a military officer, he exemplified his discipline and focus and was quickly identified as a leader, and a good one too.
Bio was first deployed at a place called Miesburg. Miesburg is an outskirt in Moravia, where the MPF rebels and the Economic force were divided by a river. That deployment was a very critical deployment. With very seasoned officers were there. There was their report of incidents every time, at least twice a week. But when the young man went there, it took about 3 weeks, no incident report. No fighting, no ceasefire, because ceasefire happened. Later on, he called, and the chief of staff came and said, he said, mark him, he said he could make a good leader in future.
I worked with him for 4 or 5 years. And during that time, I found him a very dedicated and hardworking person. Very much focused, very much somebody who thinks very deeply about what he wants to do and tries to set a pathway about how to achieve that. That's the kind of person I found him to be.
In a military coup that brought the National Provisional Ruling Council to power in 1992, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio started the Ministry of Marine Resources.
I was the first permanent secretary, and I worked with him for a period of over a year. I found him to be a very calculated and intelligent young man. He had the ability of organizing. It was a new ministry, and It was difficult to organize because it was then a division in the Ministry of Agriculture, and government was not in any position at the time to acquire much revenue from that division until he came in and established the division as a ministry.
Maada is the sort of person who, when you work with him, he wants to be able to discuss things. He comes up with his points of view and he listens to yours. Decision making is basically based on looking at all the parameters in front of him and say, well, look, this is the way I see things. How do we move forward from here? Planning and getting things to move on. But we worked together as a team.
In January 1996, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio became head of state under the NPRC-2 and initiated dialogue to end Sierra Leone's rebel war. He started the peace process.
I took a trip to Libya and met Colonel Gaddafi after staying there for about a week. I actually met him and I told him that I was an envoy of my head of state, and I explained to him, I asked him to help us, bring the war to an end. Of course, he did indicate that he had trained all of these people, but that he didn't know Foday Sankoh particularly. And he described a lot of other means for me to get in touch with Foday Sankoh. When I was at the helm, I knew the only thing that can stop me, the only way I can be stopped is by God. I was fully in charge as head of state, so I went on a flurry of diplomatic activities in the West African region, visiting heads of state, and I told them my burning desire to end the war, in a peaceful way. That was how I got the links that led me to Côte d'Ivoire, and from Côte d'Ivoire we were able to get Foday Sankoh from the middle of nowhere and brought him actually to the negotiating table.
Although some have over the years refused to credit him for his leadership in ensuring the restoration of democracy, the history of Sierra Leone's democracy is incomplete without mentioning retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio.
The issue of whether you hand over power or not was never an issue as such until at one point there was some talk about it, and Maada was very adamant about it, but we need to move on. Okay. But in terms of handing over power, that really was not a critical decision or a decision that anybody was allowed to sort of deviate from. Discussions took place. It was agreed that this was the way forward. The country had to move on. The role of the military government had been achieved in terms of stabilizing and putting things together. That was not an issue. Discussion did take place, and the decision was that we were going to hand over power anyway.
We should always be evaluated on the fact that we ended nearly three decades of dictatorship in this country. And sometimes people try to say, oh, but you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Some of the challenges we encountered were even older than some of us, most of us, who are leading that administration. But we were able to bring to an end 3 decades of dictatorship, and we are able to introduce a democratic dispensation, which we all are enjoying today.
I'm deeply humbled by the membership of the great Sierra Leone People's Party for giving me the singular honor to carry its flag as presidential candidate for the second time into the parliamentary and presidential elections scheduled for March 7 this year.
As he runs for president in Sierra Leone, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio has over the years been called a violent man with total disregard for the rule of law. But are these things really true? Is he a violent and lawless person?
You know, the kind of game these people have entered, maybe these are the things they should expect, and I'm sure his mind is made up for that. But whoever thinks that Maada is a violent person in any shape or form is most unfair to that gentleman, most unfair to that young man, as far as I know.
Did they say he was a violent person?
Yes, it goes around. Everybody says
Really?
he's violent. Yeah, they say he's a violent person. That's
No, on a one-to-one basis. I know he's somebody who would come up front and tell you, look, this is how I see it. But in terms of violence, no, I don't know him for that. He's a very upfront person. He would tell you like he sees it. Okay? If things are going wrong, he would say to you, look, this is not the way I anticipated. But in terms of violence up front, I don't know him for that.
Although his dream to be an academic changed along the way, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio was ahead of other students in his PhD class.
He has been one of the most outstanding PhD students, and he has only 2 substantive chapters now to complete. How can you rate that student? I mean, if you were to give a figure, he is at the top of his class. And in fact, there was a problem. Some of the students actually became angry with him because they said he has made far more progress than they have been around. And some of them were in the 3rd and 4th year. He was only in the 2nd year. He was able to complete his research philosophy and research methodology within a year. He was able to do his transfer from MPhil to PhD within a year. He was able to complete his research methodology and secure a diploma in research methodology within a year. He has been a top-rate student.
Looking back at his life, how he was hailed, celebrated, and blessed by the entire nation, with women laying their wrappers on the floor for him to walk on when he handed over power, the respect he gained from international community. Where did all the wrong literature about retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio come from, and why?
What they are doing is politics. They are trying to manipulate people's perception. My real self is being distorted to the people. But I know that Sierra Leoneans have grown and they will grow, and by that means they will be able to know the true Julius Maada Bio. And I think that day has come.
One thing I keep saying to his credit, Maada, at nobody's prompting, gave up power willingly in this nation. That is something, as far as I know, no African soldier has ever done. And he did that when military rule was in vogue. Military rule was fashionable in Africa.
Considering his humility and love for family, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio is a loving father and a husband.
I saw a man that is warm and funny and playful. He's the only politician in the history of Sierra Leone who is so proud of his wife, who showcases his wife as if it's a trophy. I will tell you for a fact that he's crazy about me.
Kids around the neighborhood enjoy his company and are always in his living room watching TV.
We both love kids to bits. We both love children. When we moved here, I don't remember the last time me and mother sat in our sitting room. We don't. We've actually just left the whole place for the kids kids around the neighborhood. They've taken over our sitting room, and they are Amina's friends, as much as they're older than Amina, but they make Amina happy. Amina makes them happy. Myself and mother, it's not just within our neighborhood, but everywhere we go, we make sure we have something to give to children.
I just have a soft spot for kids, whether they are mine or somebody else's. You know, I just love a soft spot for children. They capture my attention all the time. I really, it's just natural for me.
As the true retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio unveiled to the people of Sierra Leone, his love for children and his desire to empower every Sierra Leonean built on the human resource base has resonated with every Sierra Leonean right through the country.
The flagship of our strategic priorities will focus on developing the country's human capital through free education. We believe in giving every child a good education so that they can develop themselves, support their families, and build our nation for the future.
One country, one people. Atafnyi, afumnyi.
His serious disposition has been misunderstood to be pride. So, does he have fun times? How often does he crack out laughing?
He does connect well. He makes fun when we are in meetings. He makes sarcastic remarks for other people to laugh. No member of the family had ever complained Maada.
Most people think that I'm always too serious. Maybe that's how God made me, but I like to make a lot of jokes with my friends. Of course, I'm just a natural, like any other ordinary man in society.
In March 1996, retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio handed over power to the then elected government. And as we go into elections again this March, he is set to be president of Sierra Leone with his prompt action on poverty alleviation agenda known as PAOPA. What will the presidency of retired Brigadier Julius Maada Bio look like?
Sierra Leone will be a country that will provide opportunities for everybody on a level playing field. It will be a country where you don't need a party card to get a job, where you will not need to come from Bo or Tihon to get a job.
With his keen interest in education and realizing that education will play a catalytic role in national development, I am sure education will receive the greatest supporter and the greatest investment, making sure that institutions of this nation, Frobe College, Jala University College, Jala University, the medical school, primary and secondary education will be in safe hands.
I am going to approach leadership with a huge dose of discipline, and so that we can have efficient management of the economy and the resources for the good of the people. So it is a government that is going to bring back our former glory as a nation, the anthems of West Africa. That is why I have put education on top of my list of priorities, because we need to be educated, we need to take part in the world, and for us to be able to do so, we must be equipped with the knowledge, the skills. These are the equipment that you need to approach the world in which we live today.